She slid papers toward me and whispered, "Just sign these." I slid them back and said, "You might want to read page 3. If your own brother handed you a contract to sign away everything your parents left you, would you fight him? Or just let it go? I still don't know what's normal. My name is Claire. I'm 38. I work as a high school guidance counselor, and up until last month, most of my life was either at school or at my dad's house. I never had kids. No husband. Just routines. Students' problems during the day, dad's medicine and meals at night. Dad died in March. He was sick for a long time, so it wasn't a shock, but the emptiness after surprised me. I spent a week cleaning out his things. Anna came by once, late, with wet hair and sunglasses, didn't stay long. The lawyer had us sign things together. Anna wore a red dress. She didn't look at me. Anna is 4 years younger. She's always been like that. Restless, hard to pin down, charming in a way that made people ignore the mess she left behind. When we were kids, she'd push boundaries, test adults, cry if she had to. I used to think she just liked attention. Later, I realized she was always planning something, even if it was small. She knew how to make people feel guilty for not giving her what she wanted. We didn't talk much after Dad died. She sent texts about the estate, all business at first. Then she started demanding things. The car, the jewelry, extra money for some expense she wouldn't explain. I answered once or twice, but she'd always want more, or she'd twist what I said. She got sharper with every message. At first, I kept records like the lawyer told us. Then I stopped reading them right away. The house sold fast. I moved back into my apartment. Anna disappeared for a while, then popped up when it was time to get the money. It should have been a relief to have everything settled, but I couldn't shake the feeling something was unfinished. If you'd asked me then, I would have said Anna was just being dramatic, that it would pass. Now I know better. I got to Osteria Firenze 5 minutes early, but Anna was already at the table. Dee picked the one in the back corner, near the window, with the view of the alley dumpsters. She was dressed better than usual for a Tuesday, black blazer, hair pinned up, makeup a little too sharp. The man next to her looked out of place. Thick neck, sweating in a gray suit that didn't fit, holding a briefcase in his lap. He didn't look at me when I walked up. On the table, a stack of thick contracts, 2 pens, and a bottle of Chianti with the cork still in. No glasses. Anna's purse was open, her phone face down, screen still lit up from a call. She didn't stand. She just nodded at the empty chair. "Claire, let's not drag this out," she said. Her voice was too low for anyone else to hear. I sat, keeping my bag on my lap. The man's knee bounced. He still didn't speak. I looked at the stack of papers. Legal language, my name at the top, Anna's signature already at the bottom of every page. The pen closest to me was new, blue plastic, still in the wrapper. I tried to meet her eyes, but she was staring at my hands. "Just sign the papers, Claire. Make it easy." I touched the first page, careful not to move it. "What is this, Anna?" "It's the transfer," she said, like I should already know. "The business is mine. Dad wanted it this way. It's cleaner if you just sign tonight." I studied her face. She was tense, jaw working, gaze flicking between me and the man. The waiter hovered near the kitchen door, but didn't approach. Anna had probably told him we didn't need menus. "Who is this?" I nodded at the man. He didn't react. "That's my lawyer," she said. "For the paperwork." He looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. He kept glancing at the door, then back down at the table. The contracts were thick, at least 40 pages. I saw my last name, misspelled near the bottom of the first page. "Anna, I need to read everything first." She exhaled hard. Her fingers started drumming on the table, an old habit I remembered from childhood, whenever she was impatient or hiding something. Just sign, Claire. It's all standard. You know I'm not going to screw you over. Her voice dropped even lower. We don't need to make a scene. I picked up the pen, turned it over in my hand, didn't uncap it. The paper smelled like toner and perfume. I could feel the man's eyes on me now, finally. He shifted in his seat, the leather creaking. Anna, I said, I'm not signing anything until I read it. That's not how this works. She smiled, but it was tight. The kind of smile you practice in the car mirror before a fight. I'll order you a cab home after. Her tone was flat, not a question. I pushed the contract back an inch. If this is such a good deal, you won't mind waiting. The man coughed, cleared his throat, but Anna shot him a look that shut him up. Her fingers stopped drumming. She picked up her phone, checked the screen, then set it down again. You're making this harder than it needs to be, she whispered. I looked at the untouched bottle of wine, the empty glasses stacked beside it. No bread, no water, just paper and pressure. Her signature was bold, a little angry on every page. Mine was the only blank space. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. I'll read, Anna. You can wait. She stared at me for a long time, then finally looked away, out the window at the alley, where the garbage truck was backing up with a shrill beep. No one spoke. The man started picking at the label on his briefcase. Anna's foot tapped under the table, the only sound besides the distant clatter of dishes. For the first time, I saw the edge of something desperate in her. She wasn't expecting a fight. The sound of plates clinking and forks tapping against china faded when Anna dropped her smile. She didn't bother with her usual gentle voice. Stop pretending you care about Dad's wishes. He wanted us both to be happy. I could see her face had changed. Whatever she'd practiced in the car on the way here was gone. Anna's hand rested flat on the folder, her knuckles white. The man beside her didn't move, but his eyes flicked to me, then back to Anna, waiting for a cue. It's just business, he said, finally breaking his silence. His voice was flat and smooth, like he was used to saying it. Nothing personal. My hands were still on the table, fingers pressed together. Why the muscle, Anna? This isn't your style. She let out a laugh, sharp and too loud for the restaurant. The couple in the next booth looked over, then away. I just want what's fair. Don't be dramatic. The folder was still between us. I could see the edge of a typed page, a legal header, my name in black ink. I didn't reach for it. I pushed it back. I won't be bullied. Anna's mouth tightened. Her eye makeup was smudged, not from tears, but from rubbing her eyes with impatience. You always play the martyr, she said, each word clipped. I saw the man's hand move to his phone. Maybe he thought this would end in shouting, or someone calling for help. There was a pause, the kind that makes time feel thick. The server came with water, set it down, and looked between the three of us. No one thanked him. I stood up. My chair scraped the floor. People looked again, then looked away. No one said anything. The folder sat in the middle of the table, untouched. Anna didn't stand. She leaned back, arms crossed, lips pressed in a thin line. Fine, she said, voice low, like she was talking to herself now. Run away. That's what you do. She didn't look at me when she said it. The man beside her glanced up, then down, as if he was embarrassed for her but couldn't say so. I waited, just for a second, to see if she'd soften. The restaurant's air conditioning was too cold. I shivered once, then straightened my jacket. I'm not running, I said, but I don't sign things I haven't read. Anna's fingers drummed the table. Her nails were chipped, a detail I'd never seen before. She always kept them perfect. Maybe she hadn't slept. The man's phone vibrated on the table. He flipped it over, silencing it. You know you can't win, Anna said, softer now. It almost sounded like she meant it as a kindness, but her eyes were flat. I stepped away from the table, looking past the windows to the parking lot outside. It was only lunchtime, but it felt like dusk. The server walked by again, careful not to make eye contact. The folder was still there, in the center, a wedge between us. I thought about picking it up, just to make the exit cleaner, but I left it on the table. I walked toward the door. Behind me, I heard Anna sigh, then the man's low voice, too quiet to make out. Outside, the sun was bright, and I had to shield my eyes for a moment. I didn't look back. I stood by my car, keys in hand, until I heard the restaurant door shut. Anna didn't follow. I got in and closed the door. My hands were shaking, but I kept them on the steering wheel until they were steady again. People walked by, talking, laughing, not noticing me. I watched them for a minute before starting the engine. The taste of the restaurant's coffee was still in my mouth, bitter, burnt. I pulled out of the lot, checking the rearview mirror once. Anna and the man stayed inside. The folder stayed on the table, at least for now. The silence in the car felt better than anything I'd said inside. I drove home, window open, one hand on the wheel. There was no music, only the sound of the road. The elevator was slow, groaning its way down from the 10th floor. I kept my eyes on the metal doors instead of looking back. Anna's voice echoed behind me, sharp and high. You'll regret this, Claire. I didn't answer. I just pressed the button harder, as if that would make it close faster. The lobby was empty, except for the security guard watching something on his phone. I walked past him and out into the parking lot. The air smelled like spring rain and car exhaust. My hands shook as I unlocked my car, but I managed to get the key in. I sat for a moment, the engine off. I tried to breathe slow, but my chest felt tight. Halfway home, my phone buzzed in the cup holder. I almost ignored it. I was thinking about Anna, about her red lipstick that always looked perfect, about the way she had smiled when I told her no. I pulled into the driveway and checked my phone before I got out. There was a new email from Mr. Barker, our family's estate lawyer. The subject line was short, urgent, house disbursement form. I opened it standing next to my car, bag still on my shoulder. Mr. Barker wrote, received form requesting immediate release of house funds to Anna. Signature appears inconsistent. Please confirm. There was a scan attached. I tapped it open. There was my name, or someone's version of it, written in a thin, jagged hand. The C was wrong, curling in on itself. The A's looked like O's. I stared at it, then at the rest of the form. Anna's name was there, bold and smooth. The date was yesterday. The amount was exactly half of what the house was worth. I read the email again. He wanted me to confirm. I scrolled up and down. My thumb shook, but I kept my face still. I took a screenshot, then forwarded the email to myself, just in case. I saved the scan to my phone. I stood there for a while, not moving, until a neighbor's car pulled into the street and their headlights swept over me. Inside, I set my bag down on the kitchen counter. The clock on the stove said 7:19. I didn't turn on the lights. I opened my laptop and logged into my email, rereading everything again. It was all there, the message, the scan, the lie in black ink. Anna hadn't even tried to tell me. She hadn't waited a day after our argument. She must have gone straight home and filled out the form, forging my name like it was nothing. I replied to Mr. Barker, that is not my signature. I have not authorized any disbursement. Please call me as soon as possible. I pressed send, then sat back. The kitchen was quiet. I could hear the fridge humming. My hands were cold. I looked at the scan again. It was obvious to me, but would it be obvious to anyone else? I tried to imagine Anna sitting at her dining table, pen in hand, her face set. I wondered if she thought I would just let it go. My phone buzzed again. Another email from Mr. Barker, understood. Will await further instruction. Will not process funds until confirmed. Please call during business hours. I put the phone down. I thought about calling my mother, but I didn't do that either. Instead, I went upstairs and changed into sweatpants. I brushed my teeth and sat on the edge of my bed. I'd always known Anna was impatient, but I hadn't thought she would do something this obvious, this desperate. I tried to picture her face when I would tell her I knew. I wondered if she would even care. I set my alarm for 6 and lay down, staring at the ceiling. My heart was still pounding, but my hands had stopped shaking. The scan was burned into my mind, the crooked C, the heavy line where someone had pressed too hard. I closed my eyes and waited for morning, wondering how much of my life Anna thought she could take before I'd notice. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm. I stared at the ceiling for a few minutes, then got dressed without eating. My hands shook a little as I drove to Mr. Barker's office. The parking lot was almost empty. I sat in the car for a minute, watching the sun come up behind the strip mall across the street. Then I went inside. His office smelled like coffee and old carpet. He was already there, sitting behind his desk with a folder open. He had a stack of papers in front of him, a yellow legal pad, and his email up on the monitor. He didn't smile when he saw me. "Morning," he said. I nodded. He slid the folder toward me. I saw the top page right away, the sale paperwork for my parents' house. My signature was at the bottom, but the lines looked wrong. The pen pressure was heavy, and the loops were tighter than mine. "This came in late last night," he said. "Anna sent it herself. She said you signed everything, and it's time to move the money." I didn't reply. He flipped the page and showed me the email printout. The subject line was short, "Final documents attached." The body was just a single sentence, "Please wire funds as per our agreement." I asked if he could show me the email's metadata. He turned his monitor toward me and clicked through a few menus. "Here," he said. He pointed to the sender IP address. It matched Anna's address from her house. The timestamp was 9:41 p.m., 35 minutes after we'd left dinner the night before. I stood there and looked at the screen for a while. I could smell the stale coffee on his desk. I asked if he'd spoken to Anna this morning. He shook his head. "She sent 3 more emails since then," he said. "She says she wants the funds released by noon." I told him not to release a cent. He nodded. "That's what I thought," he said. He pulled out another folder, copies of the documents I'd signed weeks ago, before Anna started pushing for the sale. My actual signature was smoother and lighter. He put the 2 side by side on the desk. It was obvious, seeing them together. He asked if I wanted to call Anna right then. I said no. He wrote something down on his legal pad and closed the folders. "I want to make sure you're safe here," he said. "If you're going to challenge this, you'll need to file a formal dispute. I can't do anything until you do." I said I understood. I asked if I could have copies of everything. He nodded and started making copies at the machine in the corner. The sound of the copier was loud in the small office. I watched the pages stack up, one by one. He handed me the copies in a fresh folder. "You'll need to talk to your bank too," he said. "If Anna tries to move anything from the joint account, they'll need a heads up." I told him I'd take care of it. He looked tired. I asked if he'd ever seen something like this before. He shrugged. "Not with family," he said. "Not this messy." I thanked him for his help. He said he'd hold all the funds, until I gave the word. I told him I'd be in touch soon. I left the office and sat in my car, folder in my lap. I watched two people walk by, talking about something I couldn't hear. I held the papers and tried to steady my breathing. The sun was higher now, and the car was starting to get warm. I turned the key and headed to the bank. Anna had made her move. I wasn't going to let her win quietly. When I got home, the first thing I noticed was that my phone was hot in my hand. The screen was bright with missed calls. 9 from Anna. 2 voicemails. Her name glared up at me, the red missed call icons stacked over and over. I dropped my bag on the floor and just stared at the screen for a minute. I let myself breathe. Then I pressed play on the most recent voicemail. Her voice came through, tight and sharp. "You're making a mistake. I can make things ugly. Don't do something you'll regret." There was a pause, then she hung up. The second voicemail was just silence, then a faint exhale, then the beep. I deleted both. I went into the kitchen and made tea. I needed something normal. The kettle clicked off, and I poured, staring at the fridge. My hands didn't shake. The house was quiet, except for the faint hum of the fridge, the ticking of the clock. I sat at the table. My phone chimed again, another email notification. Except this one was different. It said, "Your email was accessed from a new device." It listed a location I didn't recognize. Somewhere across town, not mine. I opened my laptop and logged into my account. The login history showed a new device, logged in an hour ago. I hadn't given Anna my password, but I wouldn't put it past her to guess. She'd watched me type it once at her place, when she needed to borrow my phone. I changed my password immediately. Then I changed the passwords to everything else: bank, work, social, cloud storage. I logged out of all devices and set up 2-factor authentication. Every time I finished one thing, I remembered another. I started to feel like I was patching holes in a boat I wasn't sure would float. I kept picturing Anna's face when she left my apartment. The stiffness around her mouth. She wouldn't go quietly. That much was clear. I stared at the screen for a long time. The tea went cold. I thought about my options. If she was willing to break into my email, she could do more. I knew enough to be worried, but not enough to feel safe. I scrolled through my contacts and found Megha's name. She and I had worked together years ago, before she moved to a different company. She was sharp, quiet, and didn't ask questions she didn't need answered. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey, Megha, it's me. Sorry it's late." "No worries," she said, her voice muffled like she was under a blanket. "What's up?" I hesitated. "I think someone's been in my email. Is there any way you could help me trace it, quietly?" She paused, then yeah. "Send me the login info and the alert. I'll look into it tonight. You want me to call you if I find anything, or just text?" "Text," I said. "Please don't mention this to anyone." She agreed. She didn't ask why. She just said, "I'll keep it between us. Change all your passwords. Use something random, not a phrase. And don't click any weird links." She sounded tired, but steady. I thanked her, then hung up. I sat in the kitchen for a while longer, staring at the phone, watching for new alerts. I kept thinking about Anna's voicemail. "You're making a mistake. I can make things ugly." I wondered what ugly meant, coming from her. I looked at my laptop, at the list of devices. I deleted everything I didn't recognize, then shut the lid. The house felt smaller than usual, like the walls had shifted in the last hour. I checked the locks before I went to bed. I plugged in my phone, face down, and lay in the dark, listening to the building settle. I could picture Anna, somewhere across the city, staring at her own phone, waiting for me to call her back. I wondered if she'd try something else, or if she'd wait for me to break first. The silence stretched out. I kept my eyes open, watching the shadow of the window on the wall, and waited for morning. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, the screen's glow making everything else look colder. I opened the folder named Anna on my desktop. I started dragging in files, screenshots of her texts, the ones where she threatened to make things right, whatever that meant. I took photos of the printed emails, the ones she sent pretending to be me. The subject lines matched my bank's notifications, but the reply address was hers, not mine. The forgeries weren't perfect, but they were close enough to fool someone not looking too hard. I checked my phone for the third time in an hour, waiting for Megha's message. She was at her office, running one last check on the bank's audit logs. She texted, "Got something. Call me." I called right away, fingers cold even though it was summer. She picked up on the first ring. She sounded tired. She said, "Anna tried to log into your account 2 nights ago. From her Wi-Fi. Her IP address. I just pulled the logs. There's no way she can deny it." I wrote it all down on a yellow legal pad. Date. Time. IP address. I printed the web page with the failed login attempt, the IP address circled in red. I stared at the pile growing on the table. Texts, emails, login logs, copies of the forged forms she tried to send to my bank. My hands shook a little, so I made tea and waited for the kettle to boil. There was a sense of something final in how quiet the apartment felt. Outside, someone's dog barked. I let the steam from the mug fog my glasses. I counted the pages, checked the order, clipped everything together. Around 7, I sat on the couch with my phone and scrolled through Anna's name in my contacts. I called. She picked up after 2 rings. I heard her breathing, nothing else. I said, "I know about the forgery. I know what you tried with my accounts." She said nothing. I heard a TV in the background, muffled voices. I said, "This isn't over." She hung up. No click, just the silence of the call ending. I stared at the phone. I waited to see if she'd call back or text, but the screen stayed black. I put the phone down and went to my bedroom. I pulled the folder of evidence close, checked every page again. I didn't feel angry, just tired, like I'd been running a long time. I wondered if she was sitting on her own couch, phone in hand, realizing I had proof. I wondered if she felt anything at all. I sat there for a while, not doing much, just listening to the night settle in. The air felt heavy, but steady. I went back to the kitchen, made another cup of tea, and stared at the folder on the table. I knew what I was going to do next. I didn't write it down, but it was clear in my mind. The evidence was in order. Her silence was its own confession. Mr. Barker's number flashed on my phone during lunch. I let it ring once, twice, then answered in the hallway outside my office. He didn't waste time. "Anna filed a motion this morning," he said. "She's accusing you of coercing the will. She attached a video as evidence." He sounded tired, almost bored. I asked him to send the video. He said he'd already emailed it. I thanked him and hung up. Back at my desk, I opened his message. There was a single attachment, no subject, just a note. "Watch this before you call." I put in my headphones and pressed play. The video was shaky. Anna's voice came through first, her tone soft, like she was talking to a patient, not her own father. Dad was in bed, eyes half shut. Anna asked Dad, "Do you want everything split between us?" He nodded, then said, "Yes, split," but the video cut out there. It started again a few seconds later, showing Dad looking confused, Anna's hand on his arm. She said, "So you want it all split, right?" He nodded again. The video ended. I watched it twice. The break was obvious. Dad's sentence was cut off mid-word. I remembered what he'd said that week in the hospital. He wanted me to handle things, since Anna was always away, unreliable. Dee wanted the split, but with me as executor. I checked the file's details. The timestamp was the day Dad was discharged. Anna had told me she'd be at the hospital with me that morning, but she hadn't shown up until late afternoon. I'd sat with Dad, signed the release forms, packed his bag. Anna had arrived with coffee and excuses. Now I knew where she'd been. I called Mr. Barker back. She edited it, I said. Dad was supposed to add more. He wanted me to handle things. Mr. Barker sighed. I know. But in court, perception matters. She's making it look like you pushed him. He paused. The metadata shows it was filmed right after discharge. That helps us. I closed my eyes for a second. I'd always known Anna liked to plan things. But this was different. That night, I called Mom. She was quiet after I explained. I could hear her washing dishes, the clink of plates in the sink. She said she's always been jealous. You know that. I asked if she remembered Dad saying anything about the will. She said he trusted you. He told everyone. Then she hung up. I sat in the quiet, replaying the video in my mind. Anna's voice, so gentle. Dad's confusion. The abrupt cut, the missing words. The next morning, Anna called me. She didn't mention the motion. She asked if I'd sent over the insurance paperwork for Dad's car. I told her I'd get to it. Her voice was bright, like nothing had happened. She said, I'm just trying to help, you know. I said, sure. We hung up. Later, Mr. Barker forwarded me a copy of Anna's affidavit. She swore under oath that Dad had been pressured by me, that I'd isolated him in his last weeks, that I'd controlled his visitors and paperwork. It was detailed, almost rehearsed. I drove to Dad's house in the evening. The porch light was out. I sat in his old chair, looking at the empty living room. I remembered Anna sneaking home late, skipping family dinners, always blaming someone else. I thought about the day Dad died. Anna had shown up just before the end, crying, hugging me hard, saying she wished she'd been there more. Now I wondered if she'd meant it. Before I left, I found Dad's old planner on the kitchen table. I flipped through the pages. In his shaky handwriting, one note stood out. Claire handles the trust. Anna not reliable. It was dated a week before the video. I took a picture with my phone, then turned off the light. Walking out, I locked the door behind me. I felt something shift. Not anger. Just a kind of cold clarity. Anna hadn't stumbled into this. She'd been working it for months, behind everyone's back, even my own. I didn't answer Anna's texts that week. I let the missed calls stack up. At first, she tried every few hours, then just once or twice a day. By Friday, she'd left 3 voicemails. I didn't listen to them. I kept my phone on silent and set it face down on the kitchen table. My plan was simple. If I didn't respond, she couldn't twist my words or claim I threatened her. Instead, I looked up probate investigators. The first firm I called put me on hold, so I tried another. A woman picked up. She asked a few questions, nothing detailed, just enough to check conflicts of interest. I made an appointment for Monday morning, first slot. I spent the weekend gathering everything I had. Copies of the emails Anna sent pretending to be me, the printed login reports from Dad's online accounts, the PDF of the will with the signature that didn't match. I printed screenshots of the texts Anna sent me after Dad died, her pushing me to sign things fast, her saying she'd take care of it all. I included the video file Anna had shown the lawyer, the one with Dad slurring his words and Anna prompting him off camera. I added Dad's medical records, especially the doctor's letter about his dementia diagnosis. The date on that letter matched the day Anna filmed him signing. Monday came. The investigator's office was on the 4th floor of a professional building near the courthouse. Waiting room with old magazines, a faint smell of coffee. A secretary let me in. The investigator was a woman, maybe late 50s, glasses, no small talk. She looked at the folder as I slid it across the desk. She asked, "Any idea if your sister knows you're doing this?" "No," I said. "I've stopped answering her calls." She nodded. She opened the folder and went through the documents one by one, not rushing. She asked me to explain each part, how I got the emails, how I recognized the forged signature, why I thought the video was fake. I told her about Dad's dementia, about Anna's pressure after the funeral, about the lawyer who'd seemed uncomfortable but didn't push it. She made notes. She asked if Anna had ever threatened me directly. "Not in words," I said. But she implied I'd lose everything if I didn't cooperate. She suggested I keep a record of any contact from Anna, save the voicemails, don't reply. She said, if she comes to your house, don't let her in. If she sends anything by mail, keep the envelopes. She promised discretion. She said, this isn't the first time I've seen something like this. People get desperate when money's involved. I asked what would happen next. She said she'd review the documents and check the court filings. She'd look for inconsistencies, dates, signatures, witness statements. She'd check if the notary who signed off on Dad's will had done other work for Anna. She said she'd probably reach out to the lawyer, quietly. She told me, don't talk to Anna about any of this until you hear from me. If she figures out you're building a case, she could try to cover her tracks. I agreed. I felt relief, but also something heavier. This was official now. If Anna found out, she'd know it was me. There wouldn't be any way back to pretending things were normal. I thanked the investigator and left. Outside, the air was cold. My phone buzzed, another missed call from Anna. I didn't answer. I walked to my car, locked the door, and sat for a minute before starting the engine. I watched the notifications on my phone pile up. I let them sit. I didn't listen to any of the voicemails. I drove home and put the phone in a drawer. The folder was gone. The evidence was out of my hands now. I waited. I was making tea when the buzzer went off. I wasn't expecting anyone. I ignored it, but it buzzed again. I put the mug down and checked the intercom. Anna's face filled the screen, hair pulled back, lips tight. She didn't say her name. Just stared up at the camera, waiting. I pressed the door, heard the lobby click open. She was already coming up the stairs when I opened my door. She didn't knock, just stood in the hallway outside my apartment. Her voice was low, sharp. "You're ruining this for both of us," she said. She looked behind her, checking if anyone was around. I leaned against the doorframe. I kept my phone in my hoodie pocket, hit record with my thumb. The screen glowed faintly, timestamp at the top. I didn't say anything right away. Anna stepped closer, not enough to force her way in, but enough that I could smell her perfume, the one she's worn since high school. "You can't keep going like this," she said. "You're not the only one who lost something." Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. I heard footsteps on the landing. My neighbor, Mr. Hill, came out with his recycling. He's lived across the hall since I moved in. He stopped when he saw us, nodded. Anna straightened, her whole posture changing. She smiled, soft and fake. "Good afternoon," she said. "Mr." Hill nodded again, then shuffled down the hall. Anna's face changed back as soon as he turned his back. Her voice dropped. "You're not the victim here, Claire. You need to stop." I kept my hand on my phone, the screen still lit. I didn't raise my voice. You involved strangers, I said. You forged my name. You lied about Dad. I'm done. For a second, she just stared at me. I could see her jaw working. She looked at my hand, the phone. Her eyes narrowed. Are you recording me? I didn't answer. I just held her gaze. She took a step back, shook her head. This is ridiculous. You're making a scene in your own hallway. I watched her. Her fists clenched. She looked down at her shoes. All I wanted was for us to be on the same side. She said, quieter. You're making it impossible for me. I didn't move. I could hear the kettle clicking off in the kitchen. Anna's breathing was loud in the hallway. You've made your choice, I said. That's all. She looked at me one more time, like she wanted to say something else. Then she turned and walked down the stairs, heels loud on the concrete. I waited until I heard the front door slam. Then I stopped the recording, watched the timestamp flicker as the file saved. I locked the door, left the tea untouched on the counter. My hands shook, but my voice hadn't. The hallway was quiet again. I backed away from the door, phone still warm in my palm. The first call came at 8:15 a.m. I was sitting at the kitchen table with coffee, scrolling through emails, when Aunt Leela's name flashed on my phone. I stared at it for a while, letting it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then I picked up. She didn't bother with hello. Anna says you're denying her what's rightfully hers, she said. Her voice was sharp, the same way it used to be when she scolded us for fighting over the last piece of cake. I could hear the TV in the background, some morning show, and her breath, quick and impatient. I waited a second before answering. I said, Leela, I have proof Anna forged my signature. She accessed my accounts, changed passwords, threatened to ruin my credit. I have the emails. I have screenshots. She's been lying to everyone. Leela got quiet. I let the silence sit. Then she asked, can you show me? I said yes. I'll send you everything. She didn't thank me, just hung up. I opened the folder on my desktop. It had her name on it. For Leela. I attached it to an email and typed a single line. Here's the evidence. Let me know when you're done. I hit send. My hands were steady. I poured another cup of coffee and watched the steam curl up, thin and gray. Outside, the garbage truck rattled down the street. Anna always hated that sound. It took less than half an hour. I saw the notification. Leela had opened the folder. A few minutes later, a string of new emails started coming in. First from Leela herself, short, clipped sentences. I'm shocked. I didn't know. I'm sorry. Then from Uncle Mike, why didn't you tell us sooner? I replied I didn't want to embarrass Anna. I thought she'd stop. By noon, 5 other relatives had reached out. Some apologized. Some asked for more details. A couple sounded angry, at me, at Anna, at the whole mess. I answered every message, attaching the same folder, repeating the facts. I didn't add anything extra. No explanations, no defense. Just what Anna had done, step by step. Anna stopped texting me after that. I checked her social media. She'd deleted her last few posts. I saw that she'd changed her profile picture, taken down anything with my name on it. I kept waiting for her to call or send another threat. By 2 o'clock, my mother called. She sounded tired. She said she wished it hadn't come to this. I said I do too. She asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. She didn't ask about Anna. She didn't defend her. She just said, you did the right thing. I sat on the back steps after that, phone in my lap, watching the sky. It was clear, cold, the kind of day that makes everything look sharper. I thought about Anna reading the messages, seeing her story fall apart. I didn't feel much. Just tired. The phone buzzed again. Another cousin, more questions. I wrote the same answer, copied the same folder. No one yelled. No one took sides, not outright. I could feel the shift, though Anna's version wasn't the only one anymore. People were asking for proof now, not just taking her word. I realized she'd lost control of the story. I didn't need to say anything else. The evidence did it for me. I closed my laptop and let the emails pile up. The investigator's number flashed on my screen. I let it ring once before answering. His voice was flat, almost bored, but I could hear the click of keys and the sound of an office behind him. We traced the video file's creation, he said. It was on his laptop. She used the hospital guest Wi-Fi. The file was time-stamped right when you were signed into the hospital's visitor log, a floor below. He paused, as if giving me time to catch up. It's clear you weren't present in that room, and your father's condition is documented. He sounded tired, maybe from saying the same thing to too many people, but he kept going. We'll submit this to the court. She's exposed. I didn't say anything at first. He waited. I asked, so you're sure? He said yes, he was sure. The audit logs matched. The security footage agreed. On his laptop, on his login, on his fingerprints all over the file. My name nowhere except on the visitor log downstairs, where a nurse remembered bringing me coffee. The investigator didn't sound surprised. He'd seen this before. He told me the next steps. His team would submit their report. The court would see the evidence, the timeline, the technical details. He said, you don't need to do anything. He said, Anna's lawyer will probably try to negotiate. He sounded like he wanted to be done with my case and move on. I thanked him for calling. He said, you're welcome, and hung up first. The house was quiet. I went to the kitchen window and looked out at the small garden my father used to keep. The rosemary and mint had gone wild since he'd been gone. I heard Anna's voice in my head, all those months ago, telling me I was making this hard on myself, that I should just sign the documents and walk away. I thought about the video she'd created, how she'd sat in the hospital room with her laptop, probably telling herself she was protecting her interests, making sure she got what she deserved. I sent a text to my lawyer. Investigator called. On his laptop. Digital proof. He replied a minute later. Understood. We'll wait for the report. Nothing else for you to do. I sat at the kitchen table, hands flat on the wood. I remembered the way Anna had looked at me at the funeral, the way she'd hugged our stepmother, how she'd averted her eyes when I tried to catch them. I wondered if she knew, even then, that her plan wouldn't work. Or maybe she'd convinced herself it would. People do that. Later, I got an email from the investigator. The attachment was a copy of the timeline, the evidence chain, screenshots of login data and file metadata. It was technical, impersonal. Anna's name showed up again and again. My own was only on the sign-in sheet, in blue pen, halfway down the list. The nurse's note brought coffee to MS. Taylor 2, 14 p.m., sat next to it in the margin. I read it twice, then forwarded it to my lawyer. He replied, this closes the loop. I didn't reply. I heard Anna's car pull into the driveway just before dark. She didn't come in. She just sat there for a few minutes, engine idling, before backing out and driving away again. I watched through the blinds, not moving. The next morning, my lawyer called. Anna's attorney had asked for a meeting. He said, they want to settle but don't say yes yet. He sounded almost amused. When I hung up, I realized my hands weren't shaking. I made coffee, cleaned a mug, and sat at the table again. The house felt empty but solid. Anna had tried to use my father's last days to take something that wasn't hers. She left her fingerprints everywhere. The evidence would speak for itself. I didn't need to say anything at all. The courthouse was cold that morning. No one spoke to me as I waited outside the probate division, clutching the blue folder that had become a permanent fixture in my hand. I watched the hallway clock tick past 9. My name was called. I walked in and took my seat at the table without looking over my shoulder. The room was half empty. The judge flipped through a stack of papers. The clerk kept her head down, tapping at a keyboard. It smelled faintly of old coffee. Anna wasn't there when the hearing started. The judge asked if her counsel or representative was present. I shook my head and said nothing. 5 minutes into the session, the door swung open and she walked in, hair pulled back, eyes red. She didn't look at me. She slid into the chair at the other table, alone. No lawyer, no family, no neighbor friend who used to follow her around. Just Anna, a crumpled envelope in her hand. The judge asked her if she had counsel. Her voice was flat. He nodded and turned to me. I slid the folder onto the table in front of him, opened it, and pushed forward the copies of the emails, the printouts of the forged signatures, and the letters from the title company. No one said a word while he read. He took his time. My hand stayed folded in my lap. Anna sat with her arms crossed, staring at the tabletop. I heard her sniff once, but she didn't cry. After a few minutes, the judge leaned back and looked at both of us. He asked Anna if she wanted to make a statement or contest the evidence. She shook her head. The judge was quiet for a while longer. The only sound was the ceiling vent and the shuffle of paper. He announced that the proceeds from the house sale would remain in escrow, while the court reviewed the possibility of fraud and forgery. No one moved. Anna's shoulders slumped, but she didn't protest. She said nothing. The judge scheduled a review date for 6 weeks later. He told us both to expect requests for further documentation. He looked at me, then at her, then at the clerk. The clerk nodded and typed something, then announced we were dismissed. I stood first. I put the folder under my arm and pushed my chair in. Anna stayed, seated for a moment longer. I walked out of the courtroom and into the corridor. My shoes echoed on the tile. Outside, the sky was gray and wet. I didn't take the elevator. I took the stairs, one flight at a time, not rushing. No one waited for me at the bottom. I stepped outside and zipped my coat. The folder was warm under my arm. I walked to my car without looking back at the courthouse. The parking lot was almost empty. I sat behind the wheel for a minute, watching the rain start. Anna didn't come out right away. I drove out of the lot and onto the main street. At the first red light, I glanced at the folder again. The edges were bent, but the contents were safe. I kept driving. I didn't feel relief or anger, just the quiet weight of the morning, settling over everything. A week after the last hearing, I got the letter from my lawyer. The judge's order was direct. Anna had no claim, and she was barred from touching anything related to the estate. She had to pay all legal fees. My lawyer called that morning, confirming it was over. He sounded relieved. I just nodded, listening in silence. I let him handle the paperwork and thanked him when he finished. 3 days later, Anna's friend came by to collect the last of her things. She didn't look at me. I handed over a small box of mail and a sweater Anna left behind. She asked if Anna could come by for a final conversation. I said no. After she left, I changed the locks on every door in the house. There were a few voicemails from Anna, short, clipped. The last one, "I'll be gone by Friday. Don't worry about me." I didn't respond. I blocked her number and her email that night. When I checked the security cameras a week later, she never even drove by. The estate account statements arrived in my name. No more withdrawals. No more calls from the bank. I sorted every document, filed them away, and left the folders closed in the safe. By the end of the month, Anna's name was gone from every record. My house was quiet. The air felt heavier, but steadier. Neighbors stopped asking about her. Her car was gone from the street. It was like she'd never lived there at all. I started sleeping through the night. Sometimes I woke up and listened for footsteps in the hallway, but there was nothing. Just silence and the sound of the fridge running. 6 months have passed since everything ended. I wake up before sunrise most days. The house is quiet in a way it never was before, not even after Mom died. I've started stripping the wallpaper in Dad's old study. I fill in nail holes, patch the cracks, buy a second-hand armchair online. The room smells like dust and paint, but it's beginning to feel like something different, mine. There are boxes in the attic with Anna's handwriting on the sides. I haven't opened them. Some nights I catch myself listening for her, like she might show up late and slam the door, but there's only the sound of the fridge or the wind in the eaves. It's strange how quickly the house adjusted to just one person. The kitchen is easy to keep clean. Groceries last longer. I don't have to lock my office at night. Once or twice a month, a cousin or an uncle sends an email. They ask if I've seen Anna or if there's any chance you two will patch things up. I delete them. No one comes to visit. I think they're waiting for me to forgive her first, to make things easier for everyone. I don't plan to. The counseling license came through last week. I've booked my first client for next month. Sometimes I wonder if Dad would recognize the place now. The silence isn't heavy. It's just there, like a locked door or a light left off in a room I don't need anymore. I don't miss Anna's voice in the hallway or her footsteps overhead. I don't think she misses mine either. Family is supposed to have your back, not sharpen the knife behind it. Looking back, I keep replaying the moment my sister sat across from me with those fake tears, acting like I owed her everything our parents left behind. She brought her husband. She brought paperwork. She even brought up old childhood debts I'd supposedly never repaid. I never thought she'd go that far, and I never thought I'd have to stand up to her like I did. If you were in my shoes, would you have given in just to keep the peace, or fought for what was rightfully yours? Was there a point where I should have just walked away instead of seeing things through to the end? I'm honestly curious how people handle this kind of family betrayal, because nothing really prepares you for it. If you've been through anything like this, I'd like to hear about it. Drop a comment or share your story. And if you want to hear more stories like this, consider subscribing or liking. Sometimes just knowing you're not alone makes all the difference. What would you have told her if you were sitting in my seat that day?